Hello, thank you so much for joining me on this Teen Purity Challenge for Parents. It's going to be an amazing 7 days. Welcome again. Today is day 1. And we're going to be talking about what is purity, why purity, what are the benefits of purity, what is the difference between virginity and purity. Now, while virginity is the state where one has never had sexual intercourse before, secondary virginity is the state of where you have had sex before, but now you have decided to stop, and then from then on you stay away completely from sexual intercourse. So virginity, when people talk about virginity, they are only emphasizing on the fact that you should stay away completely from sexual intercourse. But purity is much more than that. Purity is freedom from immorality, especially of a sexual nature. Purity is being mindful of what you see, hear, and what you think of. Purity is not just sexual intercourse. Purity is preventing yourself even from all the things that surround the whole immorality stuff. When talking to your teenagers about purity, you have to sound a particular way or else to rub off on them wrongly. You must consider the 3 W's. The first is why, the second is what, and then the third is the timing. I would explain. For the why, you must consider this. Emphasize the benefits. The teen brain particularly loves pleasure, excitement, and positivity. So, because that's what the brain uses to create memories. You must continue to paint, positive things for them. That is why you must emphasize the benefits of purity above all else. I know that many times parents are always anxious, to share the consequences of purity, but sometimes it makes your child not interested in the whole concept of purity. So you need to always make sure that you color purity to be beautiful. In as much as you want them to learn from your mistakes, it's also a very ineffective way to teach them about purity, because when you keep repeating these mistakes, you find out that sometimes the children actually even still repeat the mistakes you are asking them not to. That means that they didn't quite get the concept because it was a negative thing. You must also ensure that you put them in a position to see the right model. Point them towards, look at this person has lived a life of purity, and look at how things are amazing for this person living a good life. So those are the kind of things that will help them to accept the concept of purity. For the what, consider this when talking about purity. Be ready to state facts, not just sentiments. Demystify a lot of wrong information and myths that are going on out there. For example, tell them when parents say that sex is painful, sex is bad, sex is terrible, and they don't understand, because their friends are coming to say to them that sex is fun, sex is interesting, sex is pleasurable. So be careful what you say. When you're talking about purity, I know it's hard for some of us. We don't really know how to say these words, but you have to learn. Tell your teenagers that sex is actually beautiful and rewarding, but that is why God said it should only be done within the confines of marriage. However, this is also a good time to state some consequences of porn and sex. Just state the consequences. Don't come and paint, how this terrible thing happened to this person had sex and then the person died along the way. Some of those things are our children look at it and oh, exaggeration. Mom is just exaggerating. Dad is just making this thing look so bad. It's not that bad. It's not that hard. Yes, teenagers love to argue. So just tell them what the consequences are. Straight facts. No need for sentiment or manipulation. Now, For the when, the third W, consider this. Not every time is ideal for the sex conversations, because it should really, the sex conversation should be a two-way thing. You're not coming down to lecture your children. No. It's something that you bring up, you talk, and they talk. When you allow them to talk, you can hear from them what they really think, the concept that they have about it. Sometimes you think they understand these things. Sometimes you think that they are agreeing with you, but in their mind, somewhere they're like, no, what my mom is saying is in her generation. What my dad is saying is not my business. But they won't say anything because you didn't let them. So let it be a two-way thing, so that you can gently and lovingly correct the wrong impressions. You can delete the lies, and then you can change the faulty mindsets that they have. I remember that it was when we were having the Teens Roundtable Bootcamp, the last edition, that I heard the concept about sex from teenagers. Oh, sex is love. Oh, sex is a way of proving that you love somebody. Oh, sex is what you need to do so that you can be really beautiful. I was hearing like terrible myths. So that was, at that point, the sex conversations began. So it's not every time that you can begin to have those discussions. The time must be right. The environment must be enabling to let them speak up unashamedly. You must also remember somewhere at the back of your mind that you guys might argue. Yeah, you might argue, but your goal should be not to win the argument, but to win the heart of your child. You want them to come over to your side. You want them to take what you were teaching, the concept you were teaching. So do it lovingly. Don't do it when you're angry, sad, depressed, or in a bad mood. You have to be very conscious of your mood before you start the sex conversations. Don't also do it when they have done something wrong. Okay, when they have misbehaved or they have just disappointed you, and then that's now the time you want to teach. No. Don't also do it at certain times, like maybe family devotions. You want to talk to your children, and then you start, saying like, it's devotion time. Everybody's supposed to be concentrating on the word of God, and then you go like you're being judgmental. That is how you people will be sleeping around. God is watching you. He's going to send down his fire to destroy you and all that. During family devotion, you make them even hate the presence of God and hate that time, because it looks like a time for judgment. So don't do it at that time. Don't also do it at family meetings. No, not, families should be able to come together every once in a while, like once in a month, twice a month, and just talk about each other and what's happening and where they are going and all that. And then that's now the time you now want to use to judge your children in the name of teaching them sexual purity. When you do these things, your children just tune off. When you begin the issue of purity, they're like, oh, there they go again, So you need to watch out for the perfect time to bring up the discussion. In my book, Maintain Your White, I spoke about, I spoke specifically to the girls and to the boys. Between pages 81 and 93, I spoke to the girls about what purity means to them, because it actually means slightly differently to the girls and to the boys. I'll just run through it briefly, because that's a challenge for today. So for the girls, I said to them that purity is a process, and that whatever choices they make, they must not forget to come back and retrace their steps. I said that purity dreams of its future, and so for the girl, they need to look past what is happening now and imagine and color their future. They need to always have their future at the back of their minds. That helps them reduce the risk of saying yes to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes their way. I like to encourage the girls, even when we have the sessions with girls only, I tell the girls to write out the kind of things they want in their husbands, future husbands. Oh, it's such a beautiful strategy for the girls. They tell I want a tall, dark, handsome man, godly man, hardworking man, friendly man that can cook and all that. So that picture helps them to stay patient. Yeah. And then the third one I wrote to the girls, I said, purity is governed by its value. A girl who is confident in her value as a daughter of God will not need to find that value in a boy, or to give herself over to a bearded fellow in the back seat of a car. So she must understand her value. Number 4, I said to the girls that purity speaks boldly. So they must go and build their refusal skills. They must have that confidence that I'm living a life of purity and I don't care what others are doing. The 5th one is purity loves its creator at any cost. While it dreams about the future, it should never be an expectation that God has to or must provide a husband. So it's not about just marriage, about sex and all that. It's about having a beautiful relationship with their maker. Number 6, purity embraces wise guidance. I encourage the girls to be connected to a circle where they can be discipled, where they can speak up when they're having temptations and all those struggles. They need guidance, maybe from us, okay, if they want to, or maybe from their mentors. Finally, I spoke about purity watches burning flames, and so they must be careful when they see a setup that can entrap them. Now for the boys, I spoke to the boys about ensuring that they are like camels, where they begin and end their day on their knees. They must speak out about their faith. They must let everybody know where they stand. Most times boys like to also comply. Their parents will say something like, you're not man enough, that's why you cannot get that girl, and that's why you cannot get her to sleep with you. It's not just enough to have a girlfriend, you have to make sure you sleep with her to prove your manhood. So they must communicate their faith to say, this is how far I can go. The next is they must watch their feet. That is their company. Where do they go? What do they do? Then they must board the right ship. Their relationships must be intentional. They must hang around people who love the Lord and who will not influence them negatively. Finally, for the boys, they must be servants. Servants in the sense that they must give their time, their talent, and their strength to God and to humanity. The teen age is a time for them to invest in their future, use their energy, positively. There is so much that they can read and learn from these pages, and this is what our day 1 challenge is going to be about. You're going to read from pages 81 to 93 of this book, and as you read, I want you to pause and have the conversations with your child. So for example, you say, what can you do when you feel like you don't appreciate yourself, like you're not pretty enough? When you get to the point of value, then your daughter can now start sharing. Were there times that you felt like people were more beautiful than you? Were there times that you felt pressured to actually have this sex with this handsome young man? Or you talk to the boys and say, were there times when your friends actually mocked at you? They called you pastor, they teased and joked at you, and you felt really embarrassed? Then you can pick up the conversations from there. I hope you have a nice time doing this challenge today. See you tomorrow.